Hello and welcome to this video tutorial. In this tutorial, I'm focusing on price elasticity of demand. What does it mean? How can we use it in business? And how can we arrive at it? So basically, the price elasticity of demand is a numerical measure of the degree of responsiveness of quantity demanded uh, to a change in the price of a product. In essence, here we are looking at what extent, how much will the quantity demanded change if there's change in the price of a product. This is what we call the price elasticity of demand. So in essence, we're asking ourselves, to what extent will the quantity demanded change? To what extent will the quantity demanded change following a change in price? And this one is explaining why some goods we can increase their price without losing on customers. We shall see this in this video tutorial. So the degree of responsiveness in quantity demanded to a change in price is known as the price elasticity of demand. How do we calculate it in economics? The price elasticity of demand is given by the percentage, because you're looking at proportionate change, the percentage change in quantity demanded divided by the percentage change in price. Percentage change in quantity demanded divided by the percentage change in the price of the product. So we are comparing here in terms of percentages to see if the price changes by 4%, at what percentage will the quantity demanded change. So in a short form, we say PED is given by percentage change in quantity demanded over percentage change in price, and this is the formula. We can use it to calculate various things, all the three things given in that formula. Now, I think it's a good point for us to look at an example. Assuming that the price of a certain good has changed from $4 to $2, that is a drop in price, we expect that quantity demanded will increase, of course. So the quantity demanded increased from 16 to $25. So the question is, what is the price elasticity of demand in this case? So we start by looking at the percentage change in quantity demanded, and here we are finding out that we look at 25% minus 16% over 16% multiply by 100. This is final minus initial by initial multiply by 100% will give us the percentage change in quantity demanded, and this we divide by the percentage change in price, which is 2 minus 4 over 4 times 100%. Of course, final minus initial over initial times 100%. Let me use my calculator here. So the percentage change in quantity demanded is 9 over 16 times 100, and here, using my calculator, I find out that the percentage change in quantity demanded is 56.25%. Now it is this figure which we go ahead and divide by the percentage change in price, which is given by 2 minus 4. We get a negative 4. Divide by 4, multiply by 100. So let's do it here. And we are finding out that the answer is negative 50. So you're saying that now 56.25 divided by negative 50 will give us the price elasticity of demand, and we find that the answer is negative 1.125, and the negative sign here shows that we have the negative relationship between price and quantity demanded, which is basically the law of demand. So it simply means that if the price changes by 56, if the price changes by 50%, then the quantity demanded will change by 56.25%. And we can see, of course, we are having more than 50%. All the quantities changing more at a higher rate than the price, and we shall see what type of demand elasticity is that. So types of PED or PEDs, we say that we have 5 types of price elasticities of demand. One is simply an elastic demand or price elastic demand, which is when the PED is more than 1, ignoring of course the negative sign. We have inelastic demand where the PED is less than 1, ignoring the negative sign. Then number 3, we have perfectly elastic demand with infinite PED. Then we have perfectly inelastic demand with a 0 PED of 0. Then the unitary elastic demand with a PED value of 1. And here we are talking about the absolute value. So let's dive in now and look at each type of PED or demand elasticity. Then we analyze it in detail. I'll use the demand curve diagrams to show the PEDs. So here we have price, we have quantity demanded. So how does an elastic demand curve look like? In short, a good with an elastic demand. So here we're going to find out that in cases of elastic demand or PED, which is greater than 1, the absolute value is more than 1, we say that a very small change in price will usually result into a large change in quantity demanded. Look at that diagram. The price is changing from P to P1. That's a very slight change, but the quantity demanded is changing from Q to Q2, which is a huge change. So how do we describe elastic demand? We say that in this kind of demand, a small change in the price of the good will lead to a large change in quantity demanded. What type of goods are these? We are looking at goods whereby you just touch the price a little, then there'll be a large impact on the sales. So we say that look at the price, just a small change, then a very large change in the quantity demanded. So you're saying that mostly this happens for goods which have very close substitutes. You try to increase the price of one, then all the consumers will shift and turn into the other good, and that one they'll purchase everything. If you do the calculation of the PED, it will be higher than 1, just like the example we saw. A 1.125 is a price elastic demand. Remember, we talk about the absolute value, we ignore the negative sign. Then we have inelastic demand. Let's get the difference between elastic and inelastic demand. Again, if a good is priced, if a good demand is priced in elastic, the demand curve will be looking like this. Unlike the price elastic demand, this curve will be very stiff with a very sharp gradient. So here we say that in a good with a price inelastic demand, a very huge change in price will not cause a big change in quantity demanded. In short, we say that the quantity demanded is not responsive, is or slightly just a little responsive to the price. You can see from P to P1 a very big change, but Q to Q1 a very slight change. So we say that in this in elastic demand, a very large change in the price of the good, perhaps an increase, will usually result to a small change in quantity demanded. And this means these are the kind of goods you can keep increasing their price, but you are not losing on sales because people are still demanding them. Which kind of goods can have this kind of demand? Example is where we have goods which do not have close substitutes. They are goods which do not have close substitutes, and the other case, it's goods which are necessities. Necessities is something like food. Food, whether you increase the price, people will still buy because they have no choice. Some goods without close substitutes will be something like petrol. Petrol, no close substitutes, so people will still purchase it. So it has an inelastic demand curve. And here we say that the PED, when you calculate, it is usually less than 1. That is the absolute value. Of course, these are negative there because of the negative relationship between price and quantity demanded. Think about this. If you're in business and you're dealing such a good, we shall see how you can benefit from this knowledge of price elasticities. Then we have other price elasticities or demand elasticities, which in most cases they do not happen in reality. And one of them is what we talk about: perfectly elastic demand. Perfectly elastic demand, it's so hard to achieve perfection. So let's try to show in this diagram what we mean by perfectly elastic demand. It simply means that um, demand will only exist at a fixed price. Look at that, demand is existing only at a fixed price P. So a change in price for this good will lead to zero demand. Just a slight change, whether you increase it or you reduce the price, then you'll have zero demand. And this means that that price is fixed, and the demand is, the demand is fixed at that price. We are saying that in reality this may and will not be possible. So we say that slight change in price leads to zero demand or change in demand. Then we say that the demand will only exist at a fixed price, which is P. Try to increase the price and you say that there is no demand there. That is impossible in reality. And we also have the perfectly inelastic demand. Perfectly inelastic demand. And this happens now when we say you keep increasing the price, you are changing nothing. So we say that in this perfectly inelastic demand, let's show the curve. This is how it looks like as a demand curve. It simply means that even if you keep on changing the price from P1, from P2, then the quantity demanded remains the same. Quantity demanded remains the same. So we say that a change in a change in price will usually lead to no change in the quantity demanded. Usually lead to no change in the quantity demanded. And here you're basically saying that move the price from uh, P to P1, you are not changing anything. So quantity demanded remains the same. Quantity demanded remains the same or is constant even at different prices. This one can be possible for very rare cases. Very rare cases. For example, is when we have prescription drugs. You don't change the prescription just because there's change in price. That is a case which can happen. Then we have unitary elastic demand. Unitary elastic demand is the one with a PED of 1. And this one, let's try to sketch and show the curve. So we have the price, we have the quantity demanded there, and then this is how the curve will look like. And here we mean that where we have unitary elastic demand, it's a case whereby a percentage change in price will lead to an equal percentage change in quantity demanded. So you say that in this case, change in price will lead to an equal change in quantity demanded. But here you have to know that it's not just a change in price, the percentage change. I think I need to include that one in this statement, that you're talking about the proportionate change in the price will lead to an equal proportionate change in quantity demanded. For example, you are saying that if the price changes by 15%, in this case, we expect that the quantity demanded will also change by 15%. If you increase the price by 15%, quantity demanded will decrease by 15%, and it usually having a PED of 1 if you do the calculation. Good. So those are the 4 types of demand elasticities. Let's do a comparison between price elasticity of demand and total revenue. How can we use it to work out or to get to know about the total revenue expected in a business? Revenue is simply given by the price you multiply by the number of sales, or simply price multiplied by the quantity demanded. Those are the number of units sold. They give you sales revenue, or the revenue, of course, which is a key determinant of success in business. So we say that if you increase uh, either the price or the quantity demanded, or which is our sales, or you increase both, then you're increasing sales revenue. That's why we are now trying to compare this with the PED. If you have an elastic PED, if your good has elastic PED, what should you change? Is it the price, or should you increase? Should you reduce the price? So we say that if you increase the price for a good whose demand is price elastic. Let's get this clear. If you increase the price for a good whose PED is elastic, what do we expect? The revenue is likely to go down. Reason? The reason here is that an elastic goods with elastic demand, they have so many alternatives, and you lose on sales revenue because some customers will opt to go for other goods. You just increase the price a bit, you lose on customers. But here, if you decrease the price for a good with a price elastic demand, then definitely your revenue will increase. Reason being that you are going to gain from the increased number of sales, or again from higher quantities demanded. More units will be demanded just because the price has just slightly been reduced. So we can use this to know the type of goods we have. You do the calculation. If you realize it is elastic, you know what to do. You increase the price for a good whose PED is inelastic, then your revenue will go high. This is what happens with those who are selling petroleum. You know, they can increase the price without losing on the sales. So no much loss in terms of sales because the good has no close substitutes, there are no alternatives. If you decrease the price for a good whose PED is inelastic, so what will happen? If you decrease the price, you're not going to gain so much. You are not going to gain so much. So this revenue is likely to go down because a change in price does not attract so much bigger change in quantity demanded. So you'll have again uh, low prices, but they are not attracting more sales. That is why your revenue is likely to go down. So if your good is price inelastic in terms of demand, the best thing is to either maintain the price or increase it. If your good is price inelastic, the best thing is to reduce the price just slightly, then you earn more on sales revenue. But for those who are dealing with inelastic goods, they are the biggest beneficiaries of this concept. This one can inform people in business how to deal with PED and how calculating PED can be useful. So how is it useful? We have just seen that it can be used as a pricing strategy. You can tell how much should I price my goods. You can use competitive pricing if you're in business and you are dealing with goods with PED, which is elastic. And if you're dealing with inelastic PED, you can use skimming, something like that. So you can also explain how a change in exchange rates may affect importation. Remember, exchange rates usually affect the costs of importation or the prices of imported products. So it can be used to show how exchange rates can affect importation. You can use PED to put in place price discrimination. Of course, concerning age, income, price discrimination is a case whereby you charge different prices for different groups. So if a good is a habit to the young people, you can charge higher. You get the old people, you can charge them lower. If a good is for people with high income, you can charge higher, like that. That's price discrimination. Then again, the government can use PED to decide on which goods to impose a tax on. So the government can decide this good is habitual, this good is addictive, this good is a necessity, this good has no close substitutes. So with it is having an inelastic PED, definitely we shall have high tax revenue from it. So this is how we can use the concept and the knowledge about PED. So thank you for watching the video. Remember to subscribe to the channel.